let's have a look through here and head through into Sao Ching Cha, and we'll talk about it a bit. So let's head back into what looks like a dodgy alleyway. This canal, or klong as it's called in Thai, is the same small one that flows through the middle of the little area called Klong Lod that we've seen in another video recently that I've made. But now we're coming into the Sao Ching Cha area. So you can follow this canal through, but it's not that easy once you go a few hundred meters further. But it is possible. But it's more interesting to come through this way. This cute little temple here. It's obviously a very old temple. This is a really cool little shortcut for people in the know. It's very peaceful. The canal's just there. Sao Ching Cha is a very special neighborhood. It's the place where all the things for temple life are manufactured. A lot of the things are made by hand. Everything to do with temples, basically. And we'll see a bunch of stuff as we walk through to give you some examples. And you see there's a bridge over the canal there. So it's possible to follow that canal, as I said, but it's not easy. Or you can go across that bridge to the next little soi over, the next little alleyway, and then turn right and come out further along down there. But I think this way is a bit more interesting, so let's head down this way. And here's a very cheap place for rent. If you're looking to save a few ducats, then it could be an option. There's actually a few apartment buildings sprinkled through this neighborhood, believe it or not. So it's not just all about manufacturing temple gear. Hello. City porn apartment. Does that sound like it could be your thing? So these kinds of skinny alleyways, or as they're called in Thai, sois. These skinny sois are where you find real Thai lifestyle. So I love these kinds of places. These are my favorite kinds of places in Thailand. At least if I'm in a city or a town. Alright, we're coming out on one of the most important roads of Sao Ching Cha. What's it called? I know, but I forgot. Isn't that terrible? At the end here, there's a Chinese shrine that's very popular for locals to make merit. And on this street there are many cafes, and it's a pretty cool street, I can say. It's pretty much one of the main hubs of Sao Ching Cha. And we can see the name of a side street up here. Here's one of the side streets. All right, we'll check later about the name of this one. I know it, but I forgot. But we're gonna head on into the side here for now. Because one of the really great things about this area is that there are lots of skinny soys. It's like a real rabbit warren. It's really fun. And if you're not familiar with the area, you can feel like you get lost a bit. And in here you can see some Buddha statues. As I said, this area is all about temple stuff. So there are lots of little workshops making all kinds of things every day of the week for temple stuff. Whatever you can think of that people in temples use. There's some good food around here too. Just down at the end of this street is the actual center square of the old town of Bangkok. But we'll check that later. But first we have a lot of things to look at. A lot of cool stuff. This is one of my favorite areas of Bangkok. So there's a few good restaurants around this crossroads. And I've spent a lot of time around here over the years. I really like the vibe around here. And the streets that are to the sides of our walk today have some interesting things, but of course I'm taking you guys on the best way possible. So this is definitely the highlights walk here and more. The Grand Palace down the end there, and the giant swing, one of the landmarks of Bangkok. It's so famous, and we'll have a look at that later as well. But for now, let's duck down here. An apothecary shop and museum, it says. There's an apartment down there, but not much airflow in there, I would say. So I think I would probably give that one a miss, but I don't know, it depends on the individual person, doesn't it? So it might be good for some people. So back at the last decent sized road we crossed, you could see at one end there was the Grand Palace, and at the other end the giant swing. So those areas are very busy areas, and this area we're looking at today runs right between them. And you can see it's mostly skinny little roads, and it's a very local kind of vibe in here. Now this street is super cool if you come here very early in the morning, and I'm talking about the crack of dawn. I used to come through here a lot, and that's the best time of day. It's lovely and cool. There's a morning market on this street at the crack of dawn, and it's one of the nicest, most atmospheric markets in Bangkok, in my opinion. Down the end of this street is a very famous temple. We'll mention it again later. One of the most important in Thailand, actually. And it's a really nice one to have a look at. So if you can rouse yourself at the crack of dawn and make it over this way, you won't be disappointed. It's very photogenic. Obviously, I haven't done that today, but yeah, at different times of day, there are different things going on, and I thought for what we're filming today, I want to make sure there's a bit of life in on some of the other streets that I want to check as well with you guys today. So I had to judge it from the overall walk. But yeah, early morning is a good tip. Come on down here. Okay, you can see that temple down there that I mentioned. Something I notice every time I come through this way, it's always cooler in here. The sun doesn't get in here really. It's like its own little ecosystem. So it's a good way if you're trying to get between certain areas. You can avoid the noise and the traffic pollution. Come through some little ways like this, and it's even cooler. This is a lot of fun. But I just had some weird guy back there stick his foot out in front of me. He was sitting down and then gave me a push as I walked by because he said I walked too close to his foot after he stuck it out in front of me. Yeah, you do get some odd people like that around the tourist areas, I can say. Not so much away from the tourist areas, but yeah, you have to watch out. There are some people that are definitely on a pretty weird trip and don't really like to welcome people from other places too much. Okay, this goes back to where we were before. And this way goes another way. Yeah, we'll talk about that in a wee bit. Further down here, it's quite interesting and connects to where we were earlier. All right, but this is totally magnificent, really spectacular in here. And a quick peek inside. Fantastic. And through there is the main chamber with the big Buddha, which we won't have a look at. Like I usually say, I like to save something for you guys to check out yourselves. So, a couple blocks down here on the right side, there's some very nice architecture. If you just go inside there, there's some nice old buildings. And there's a cool bridge here. And this interesting canal, which goes down towards Klong Lod direction and basically separates the Grand Palace area from the area that we've just been looking at, Sao Ching Cha. So let's head a wee bit down here. You can see this architecture on the corner on the left here, and as I mentioned, the opposite direction behind me, further back, there's a couple streets where you've got similar. And check this very cool bridge. And over here, this is my favorite park in Bangkok for sure. We're not going to look in here now, but it's a small park that was a tea garden for the royals back in the day. Now it's a public park. I strongly recommend it to you guys. Definitely have a look in there. It's a sanctuary. Okay, but for our time today, we're gonna head down here. Okay. Along this little canal. I remember one time I was walking along by this canal in the early morning, and there were a bunch of people from prison up to their waists in there digging out the canal. It's got to be done sometimes, right? Well, it's one way to pay off a debt to society, I guess. But I think that water is not really very clean. So anyway, we won't say too much about that, but hopefully at least, maybe just from the short-term exposure, people were okay after that, but you never know. I've heard some stories about some of the water in some of the canals in Bangkok, which we won't get into right now. We'll save that for another time. But it's a nice little walk along here. Okay, we crossed this road before to get into the temple, the very cool temple that we saw a couple minutes ago. I remember there used to be a family who lived in a little box just back on that corner. I saw them over a number of years, and at some point I guess they got cleared away. It's amazing in Thailand how tolerant authorities are of people basically just squatting, just setting up a little shack somewhere on the side of the road, and it takes years and years before the authorities get around to moving them along. It's not something you see normally in other countries where police would be there like the same day or the next day and knock them on the head a bit and get them out of there. I cannot say I understand it myself, but I mean, there are a lot of options, right? This is a gigantic city. Okay. It used to be possible to walk down here a couple blocks and you'd come to the back of a Chinese shrine, and there was kind of a little secret way you could get into the back of the shrine, and you'd come out on a street that's very famous for electronics. We just came through there before, over that bridge, by the way. So anyway, last time I checked it, they've closed the back entrance to the shrine, which is it's a bit of a pity. I would love to take you guys through that way, but this is a nice way down here too, and we're really spoiled for nice walks in Bangkok, I can tell you. Once you figure out so many of them, then you start to realize really Bangkok is a gold mine for this kind of thing. Once you learn the really cool ways to walk between areas, it makes things much nicer, I can tell you. Okay. All right, down here, there's a very cool shopping center on the left side and another old one on the right side. We'll talk about them in the future, but for now, let's cross over and follow the canal. We were down here before, so as you can see, there's some very nice food options at this intersection, and I definitely recommend it. One of the better options in the whole area. Now we're coming into the early evening. It's cooling off. It's one of the best times to be out and about. Early morning and evenings. Early mornings you get morning markets, which are only open in the morning, and they're quite fascinating for fresh food of all types and other products. Well, there are night markets also, which are very interesting. Of course, the vibe in the morning is very laid back. The air is clean after a long night. The air is cooler. Most of the troublemakers are in bed still. That really helps a lot, I can tell you. So maybe the mornings are the best, I guess, huh? Monks are out collecting their morning rice from the people who like to donate for them. Evenings, yeah, a little bit different. So at this time of the day, people are finishing up work. Traffic's really bad if you're trying to drive anywhere. It's not a good idea to drive at this time. People are gearing up for maybe a fun night, depending on the time of the week. Okay, let's head into this really great little park. So this is the second park that I've mentioned in this video. This one is very interesting. It used to be a prison. You see the tower over there was a guard tower. On the other side through the trees you can see something the same color as the tower. That's the remnants of a wall and one of the guard buildings. So they've taken down the other walls and they've made this nice park in here, and it's very popular, mostly for exercising. Sometimes the joggers try to act like it's only for jogging, but it's not too bad. And you hear there's a speaker playing music all the time. It's a strange idea. I don't understand. It's normally like that in most Thai parks. Not all, but most. Well, a lot. Let's say a lot. Where they have speakers playing this kind of pop music which isn't really my favorite kind, I can say. And if you want to chill out and relax, it makes it a bit tricky to find a spot. Okay, we'll just take a little wander through here because it's kind of on the way. There's another guard tower there. Right. You can actually get a decent workout if you use your body as a weight, basically, and do the exercises that can work like that. And in the early morning, it's a good time. It's important to keep fit, of course. If you're a serious traveler, it really pays off. When you're younger, you can get away without a lot of fitness activity, but yeah, traveling can be a bit of a fitness activity too, right? But yeah, you got to take care of yourself if you want to be on the long road. And I always believe in playing the long game, that's for sure. All right, so we've basically circled around this temple, which we're not going to have a look in, but it's one of the better ones in Bangkok, definitely. It's where they ordain a lot of the monks, and it does look very impressive. And it is fairly popular for travelers to come and have a look in here. Here's a Hindu, I think it's a prayer hall, I'm not sure, or cultural center, or both. Thailand's quite interesting that in the past it was Hindu, and then a long time ago it became a Buddhist country, but there are some remnants of Buddhism that kind of mix in a little bit with things to make their type of, did I say Buddhism or Hinduism? Okay, there are some elements of Hinduism, yeah, mixed in with their Buddhism, and gives it its own style a bit. Yeah, so if you go inside this temple, they do try to charge you a small entrance fee, which I really am against for moral reasons, but because you could be a foreign Buddhist, right? I mean, if you don't look Asian, they're gonna ask for money, right? But basically, if you look Asian, they're not gonna ask you, probably. Anyway, if you go around the side entrance, there's a few side entrances, then you won't be asked to pay. My little tip for the day. Okay, so we're at the giant swing here. Wow, it's pretty cool. It looks like a swing, and they call it the giant swing. I wonder why. Well, it was a swing, believe it or not. They had some kind of a cultural activity where people would swing on here, and apparently a lot of people died doing it, and somehow the people who did it the best in whatever way that they judged it got a prize, so people would risk their lives. And yeah, eventually they decided to stop that. This is what in America they'd call City Hall. It's where what they call the governor of who they call the governor of Bangkok hangs out, or what they call the governor of Bangkok hangs out. In other places you'd say the mayor. Anyway, this is the actual center square of the old city of Bangkok. And we were on the street a bit earlier, the Chinese shrine at the end there that I mentioned. As I said, that street is like a kind of central hub for Sao Ching Cha, and so is this street that we're walking on now, next to the town hall here. There are some kind of famous or locally famous restaurants here, places to get a bite to eat and a drink, and it's a cool little area actually. I really like it a lot around here. Just a little bit further down at the end of the road here, there's a big roundabout and you see a big monument. It's called Democracy Monument, and the little canal we started out on comes along here, through here. But we're gonna swing behind the town hall here at this point, and another time we'll have a look around the Democracy Monument area. And we're gonna rejoin the little canal we started with and head along here a little bit before we finish up. I'm going to show you a little bit more good stuff. Yeah, so this area behind the town hall is actually a pretty little area. It's not really been utilized in the way that it could have been. The water doesn't smell bad, but it's not really clean. If they cleaned it up and tidied up this area, this will be a fantastic little area for outside dining. So you see there's a little bridge just up here, and there's a footpath. So it's possible to cross here and follow this footpath until you get to the next big road, take a left and take a right, and you come to the Klong Sunset boat station, which is at the bottom of the big temple up there, which is called the Golden Mount. But we're gonna head through another way to get over that direction. This little one also connects if you go through and go right. And so this pretty little stretch along the opposite side of the town hall here is popular with the town hall workers at lunchtime. A lot of them patronize some of the little food places and drink places along this side, and it's kind of nice along here. We're gonna just go up a tiny bit further and hang a left. It's a hotel here, which could be interesting for some people. If you want to stay in the Sao Ching Cha area, there's actually a bunch of places now. In my Klong Lod video, the area next to here, I mentioned it's changing a lot and it's starting to get a lot of hotels and guest houses and so on. And there's some nice options over here in Sao Ching Cha too. A lot of places have opened in the last few years, a lot of new places that are very charming. So this area is a good option as well for travelers. I definitely recommend it. It's a bit more laid back. All right, so the giant swing over there. Let's swing into here. Here's a very interesting place on the corner, by the way, for snacks and drinks, old style. It's a really nice place. In here, there's an old short time hotel. I won't tell you what short-time hotels are about, because you can look that up on Google. But anyway, I need to talk about the rest of this atmospheric little street here, because we only have a short time. It's the back of a temple. Through there, a temple that we're coming upon now, and it's actually a very famous one. One of the more famous ones in Bangkok and in Thailand. So, garbage collection, Thai style. This little alleyway joins back where we were by the little canal a few minutes ago. It's possible to take a shortcut through the temple here, but I always prefer to walk along this street. There are a lot of cool places along this street. Now, yeah, it's becoming a bit more popular. It's still got the local feeling though. Still has the old vibe about it, as you can see with some places like these ones here. So I love this kind of stuff. These places with the pots, you can just lift the lid off yourself and have a look. Don't need to be shy about it. And if you like the look of something, point your finger and maybe thumbs up, and they'll figure it out. And it's a good way to try a lot of things without knowing what they are. What could go wrong? Not much really, but I do remember my first trip to Thailand, and I did that in Chiang Mai, and I ended up with something that tasted like rotten human foot that had some kind of fungal infections or something that had been kind of floating in a dirty canal for a few months with a lot of chili pepper. Yeah, and I still don't know what it was to this day. But yeah, after that, I was a bit more careful actually after that about what I ordered. But yeah, just trying is one way, right?